Well, hello, hello. This is Karin Zoe Lee, and you're listening to Lotus Moon Productions. Welcome to LMP Music. Whatever the music, whatever the tune, we're here to learn, discuss, and promote the independent music scene. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the next 45 minutes as Shugo Hanasaki tackles the music industry one artist at a time.
Welcome back to the LMP Music Scene. Today, I'm very pleased with my guest of the hour. His debut album, Nerd Power, released in 2016, and since then, he has been smashing releases and collaborations with artists such as LeBrock, Dana Jean Phoenix, Grime Theory, Cody Carpenter, Dream Hour, and more. Speaking of Dana, he released a collaboration album called Megawave, and his most recent album entitled Destroy to Create was released only a couple of months ago in December. And if that wasn't enough, he just released a new EP last week called Darkest Voids. So without further ado, there's so much to talk about. I'm incredibly pleased to announce Paddy from POWERNERD. How's it going today, man?
Hi, it's good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure, and it's an absolute honor to have you on, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Now, you're 5 hours ahead. Of me. What is it? 7 o'clock over there?
It's 7, yeah. I'm in the future.
Yeah, you are in the future. Perfect for any synth artist.
Yeah, totally.
How's your day been?
Quite nice. I was working on a track, on a new POWERNERD track, actually.
Ooh, and now I'm even more intrigued.
Yeah, nice Sunday here. Weather is not so good, but that's okay for staying in and just working on a track. A heavy track.
The best thing about bad weather outside is that it keeps us inside and keeps the inspiration fresh for working on new material.
Yeah, true.
Well, one of the first things that I love to talk about with guests on LMP Music is how they would define themselves as an artist. And when I listen to your music, you've I also feel that dystopian futuristic vibe in the greatest of ways. But for new listeners and for myself as well, how would you define yourself and your work, and how did POWERNERD come to be?
POWERNERD is, as you know, it's kind of started as a pure synthwave thing in 2016 when we released Nerd Power. It was more of a classic synthwave back then, more pop, more melodic, more guitars. And I have the impression or the urge that it's getting heavier with time. So my POWERNERD stuff I release alone is quite getting heavier, but I also have this poppy side with Dana, and I would describe my music as my vision of synthwave. So it's kind of all my inspiration, all my stuff I listen to, all this culminated, can I say that in English, into POWERNERD. Like POWERNERD is my vision of 80s synthwave stuff. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Very cool. Now, we're definitely going to get into your music career, and we're going to talk about Dana Jean Phoenix, and we're going to talk about Megawave. But I'm curious on who inspired you and what influences brought you into becoming an artist to begin with.
You want to know the starting of me as a musician or synthwave, Paddy?
Oh man, it could be anything. It could be whatever tickles your fancy, my friend.
Okay, I started the beginning when I was 14 years. After school, I always went to a shop to listen to CDs, compact discs. There you could listen to CDs, and there I found the AC/DC Live at Donington. And I was fascinated by the sound of AC/DC back then. So
nice.
this guitar, it was kind of magic, the solos and stuff. And that was the reason I started playing guitar at the age of 14. And so soon after that, I joined a punk band, or grunge. It was grunge back then. It was 1996, quite some time ago. This band evolved into some kind of hardcore punk band, and we toured quite a lot in Europe and Canada, and very, very many gigs. Then at kind of the 2000, I started studying jazz guitar, and also started a new band which did garage, 60s garage trash music. 2000, and I studied guitar, blah, 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 fast forward some years. And then in 2015, I started with synthwave. Yeah, that was kind of a short story about my musical journey. And it's, I forgot, around 2000, I think, I started producing electronic music, or I started making music with the computer. I had my first computer in 2000 and immediately started with a Reason, the DAW, and started producing music. And in 2015, I accidentally made a synthwave track and put it on SoundCloud, and it went quite well. And so I thought I'll stick to it. Yeah, and here I am with POWERNERD.
So AC/DC is an incredible inspiration to begin with. Their rock is unheard of nowadays. You know, you get that lovely guitar sound within a lot of synthwave music, but AC/DC is one of those bands that just never quits. And my next question is, why synthwave? Are there people within the community that have inspired you to keep at synthwave?
No, as I said, it was kind of an accident. And I think the main reason is I'm a guitar player, and there are very few genres of electronic music where you can play guitar and it's not really cheesy, and synthwave is one of them. You can make electronic music, add guitars, and it's cool. And I'm a child of the 80s, so that came together. So synthwave is kind of my musical home. Can you say that? It's like I feel home with it. It's kind of strange, but yeah, as a kid of the 80s, I have this sound, this aesthetic is kind of burned into my
Being a child of the 80s, I mean, I have to admit, I have to ask, what things from the 80s inspired you? Because I mean, I was born right at the end of the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in '89, but being even being a '90s kid, there's so many things from the '80s, and just like, wow, what a radical time, right? So I just have to ask, what inspirations from the '80s that you love so much, besides AC/DC and other rock bands?
I have to say it's mainly television. It's like Knight Rider. When I first started with the synthwave, or the very first synthwave music, like Kavinsky, I think was more influenced by American TV shows, or the beginnings of the series, this Knight Rider music and stuff. And this, I think, was the first really synthwavey inspiration for me, like Knight Rider and this television signations and stuff.
That's man. Just there's just so many influences that come into the 80s, and I love connecting with that with artists. Like there's you ask one question and it can bring so many different answers, and that's why I love questions.
Totally.
Diving into someone's inspirations and creative process. It may sound like the same question, but you get incredible answers.
That's true. Yeah, actually, I remember I made one synthwave track in 2009. It was very early because I was listening to Kavinsky. I even saw him live back then. And Kavinsky, I think, has more, as I said, influence in the TV show beginning. It's not like this 80s you hear from Time Cop stuff. Synthwave is quite has a very big range of influences from the 80s. You can take parts of the 80s and put it in synthwave. Like you have this rocky synthwave, like Ultra Boss and stuff.
Yeah.
This shred wave. You have Time Cop with the Dream Wave. You have the heavier stuff like Power Glove, and it's all synthwave, but it's very how do you say? It's very many different styles in the synthwave genre.
Now I did mention creative process, and I'm very curious on how a track comes to be with you. You make a lot of instrumentals, and sometimes you collaborate with other artists and you add lyrics into it. But what do you prefer? An instrumental version, or adding lyrics to it? Like, how does it come to be? Will there be more lyrics in the future by POWERNERD, or is POWERNERD just more of that telling a story through instrumental?
It's both, actually. I have no preference, but for POWERNERD, if I am releasing stuff under the POWERNERD name. It's more instrumental with 1 or 2 vocal tracks for an album. But I also like to collaborate, as you know, with Dana or other people. So I have no personal preference here. Not really.
Cool. Well, it's good to be open. It's good to be, having that that open scenario where anything can happen, because at the end of the day, if that's the attitude of the artist, then the only person who wins, not the only person, the people who win are not only the artists but the fans themselves. So it works out fantastic.
Best case scenario, yeah.
Yeah. Now, throughout the podcast, we're going to be sharing some track previews and speaking about, a lot of, and speaking about your last 3 releases. But I think we would start with Mega Wave, since we've already mentioned Phoenix.
Yeah.
And then we'll move on to Destroy to Create, and then finish up with your latest EP, Darkest Voids. How does that sound?
That's perfect for
me.
me.
Cool. Now, starting off with Mega Wave, I recently spoke to Dana Jean Phoenix back on episode 10 about the release.
I heard it, yeah.
Yeah. It was a fantastic chat. Me and Karen Zoe Lead sat down, and we had a fantastic chat with Dana. She opened up so much and shared so much. It was such a fun time.
Yeah, she's cool.
yeah, and I would love to hear your creative process on such a radical album. Where did the inspiration come from? Will there be more collaborations with Dana in the future? Can we expect a Mega Wave Part 2, if you will?
Yes. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but yes. And the creative process was very natural for us. So first we wanted to, I think it was planned as an EP or just some tracks, but it came together so nicely that it became an album. It was really a natural way to work with her. I mean, I'm in Austria, she's in Canada, so I made some tracks, some ideas, sent them to her, and she sent the vocals back, and this was a back and forth, and it's very fast way and very cool to work with her, because she always made the perfect vocals for the tracks. So it's kind of very, very easy and fun and inspirational to work with her.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that comes to mind, and she was mentioning it too, was the Rubik's Cube that she sent you.
Yeah.
that was awesome in that video. I loved it when she tossed it over and you grabbed it, and it was she had to find the same one and do the same thing. The Figure Me Out video, that's what it was.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. And I mean, if there is a Mega Wave Part 2, I mean, you guys have hit gold. Like with coming POWERNERD and Dana Jean Phoenix combining and creating Mega Wave. There's magic there, man. And
thank you very much.
Once I'm able to get my hands on a vinyl, I haven't been able to get one yet, but I can't wait to own that vinyl, because Dana Jean Phoenix, POWERNERD, knocking synthwave doors down that haven't even been created. It's just it's incredible. It's every synth artist needs Mega Wave in their collection.
Thank you very much. I'm honored. I see it. It's very people seem to love it, and it's beautiful for me to hear stuff like this. It's very nice, very cool.
Now one of the first experiences that you had with Dana Jean Phoenix was on a song called Flame from Testosterosa, right?
Yes, that was the first encounter with her.
Yeah.
It's like I asked her to collab, and she said yes, and that's the beginning of this wonderful story with Dana. And we kept on. Yeah.
I absolutely love that so much, just because of the fact that, and I mean, I'm being a little bit selfish here, but Flame was my first impression of your music, and it was also one of the first songs I ever heard from Dana Jean as well.
Oh,
so
cool.
Yeah, and I felt like it was just it's an incredible song. And I mean, the inspiration, I talked a little bit about it with her, but what was the inspiration? Can you remember back to 2017? What was the inspiration behind Flame and how it came to be?
No. I made a track, and I was thinking it's a good vocal track, and Dana came to my mind, and I asked her, and so it came together. Was no I can't remember I make tracks, I produce some tracks, and afterwards I think maybe this could be good for vocals or not. It's no. I had not flame in my mind because she does the lyrics.
Mm.
So yeah, I just had this track and I wanted vocals for it, and Dana delivered the best vocals I can imagine for this track.
Yeah, she is. Her voice is absolutely incredible. She's
Mm.
one of the best in the synth fam,
Yeah,
and I
totally.
mean, like she's done so much with so many people, collaborated with so many other people, and I mean,
Mm.
speaking about collaborations as well, I have to ask, are there
Mm-hmm.
any other artists out there within the synth fam who you would like to collaborate with?
Yeah, I would love to collab with Power Glove, but that's the only thing. And yeah, so I think I have I made many collabs right now. It's kind of almost everybody. I did almost with everybody a collab. So I think lately I'm not doing that many collabs anymore. It was kind of the Testosterosa time where I did very many. It's almost every track is a collab. Right now I'm slowing down with collabs.
Earlier on, I was speaking to Griff, and I just sent him a
Mhm.
message, and I was like, I don't know why I have this in my mind, but Griff's been really touching into that cyberpunk kind of dark synthwave feeling
Mhm.
when he's releasing clips online. He's shown me some stuff as well, and
Yeah.
I sent him a message. He hasn't seen it yet, but I have
Mhm.
to plant the seeds here with you. And I was like, you and Power Nerd with your dark wave or your cyberpunk sound, Griff, Power Nerd. I think you guys would knock a track out of the world. Like
Oh,
it would
nice.
be
Yeah.
phenomenal.
True. Yeah. Why not?
So, I mean, I guess since we're on the topic of Megawave, as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, we'll be sharing track previews, and we're going to start and showcase a track off Megawave entitled Sunrise Stance. How's that sound,
Mm,
Paddy?
very good.
Cool. All right. Here's a 45-second clip of Sunrise Stance off the album Megawave by Dana Jean Phoenix and Power Nerd.
Hey.
Now you're stuck, but we ain't stuck or giving up, cause we don't give up. Keep going, babe. We got all the time to live this right and right. It's beautiful, and it's humanity. Some people miss the point and claim it's just for vanity. So what, when this is so right?
Now, one of the reasons why I chose to promote Sunrise Stance, because it captures Dana's 80s vibes perfectly, but at the same time, it shows off your futuristic sound that we talked about earlier on.
Mhm.
And what was the inspiration behind the background track?
Sunrise Dance. It's got this French house vibe. It's more of a disco-ish French house dance vibe, less of a synthwave track. And it just came together nicely. Like sometimes I start with a groove, and like this tempo is very good to dance to, and I build up upon the groove. And with this album, I really focused on the bass lines. Maybe you hear that the bass lines are really more of funk bass lines and not synthwave. Like in synthwave, it's often like 16th bass notes, like dun 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 dun. And on this album, I focused on more this funky stuff. And this track is a nice kind of a disco-ish, French housey take on synthwave.
Nice. It's one of my favorite tracks on the album. I mean, there's Figure Me Out, Megawave is my top favorite. I think that song was incredible. The fact that, you can have all this futuristic sound, but then you can also have that tropical synth pop sound with Megawave. I love it. It really showcases how brilliant of an artist you are with how far you can go with your music.
Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of funny because I'm not so much thinking of different genres when I produce, but it's some tracks just go into certain directions. So it's interesting that you mentioned it's like this tropical thing. It was never planned. It just came out like this.
It's incredible, man, to have a skill like that where your music can just go, go with the flow, as they say.
Yeah. I think that's going with the flow here. Mm.
Moving on to your latest album, Destroy to Create, we see Dana Jean making another appearance on your release on the track The Ruins of Paradise. The album is much darker than Megawave, but it's a great synthwave album. And we'll be showcasing a preview of Pushing Binaries. But before we dive into hearing it, what was the inspiration behind such a dark, futuristic, dystopian album? To be honest, it kind of reminds me of the Fallout universe. Do you know the Fallout games?
No, I'm not a gamer at all. Do not play games.
Well, if you ever look at the Fallout universe, it's futuristic, everything, you're kind of in a desert for the most part, and it's everything's falling apart, you're there's radiation all over the planet, kind of thing.
Okay, cool.
So
I don't know it, but yeah, it's kind of dystopian. I like this this dystopian feeling, like in music. It's very cool to work with.
How did Destroy to Create come to be with how much the direction change between Megawave and Destroy to Create? I mean, again, like it had that dark futuristic sound, as I mentioned earlier, but I mean, you must have been inspired by something to create such a powerful album.
Yeah, it's not a thing I do. I do like I'm not planning to do a dark album or stuff. It just comes together, and when maybe I'm working on some tracks, and then it shows some direction where it will go. And so, as I said earlier, with when I'm releasing alone, like with POWERNERD, I prefer this darker, heavier stuff. And so I'm really tried to focus on that with that album. It's also the first album I did after quitting the band. With POWERNERD, I had a band. Like we made many live gigs, we did many live shows, but I decided to stop that and focus on me or focus on just producing music. And so this was the inspiration to call it Destroy to Create. It's like I destroyed this whole image of POWERNERD it had before and created a new one, like with this darker, dystopian, more electronic style. Because the album before Destroy to Create was Far From Human, and it is, that? The Far From Human album?
Yes.
Yeah, it's very rocky and very with vocals, with heavy metal vocals and stuff. And so this Destroy to Create was the concept was to destroy, or I destroyed, it's sounding very harsh and bad, but I destroyed the band and created this new version of POWERNERD. Like it's me alone producing music, and it's darker and heavier.
Well, I love it, man. I love it. And again, just like Megawave, Destroy to Create is one of those vinyls, one of those EPs, one of those albums that any synthwave artist needs, because it's absolutely incredible to listen to from start to finish. And I mean, the Ruins of Paradise, again, one of my favorite tracks out there. I'm trying to remember, that middle part where it just breaks down and Dana just rocks it. She adds amazing lyrics. So I mean, yeah, definitely anybody out there, go find Destroy to Create on Bandcamp and give it a buy. It's worth every penny. Now, let's give a taste of what we're talking about. We're talking about Destroy to Create. We're talking about how amazing of this album is, and the audience is like, well, how amazing is it? So So we'll definitely go check out the Ruins of Paradise. You can find it anywhere, Bandcamp, YouTube, SoundCloud. But at the same time, we're going to share a preview of Pushing Binaries. So without further ado, here it is by POWERNERD off the album Destroy to Create. Now, after listening to Pushing Binaries, it strikes me as a great track that could be in any cyberpunk video game. Hell, I could see it in the next upcoming Matrix movie, if I'm being honest.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, but then we have that sweet guitar solo in the middle that adds a whole new level. What was the story you were trying to tell within that track?
I don't know. It just came to my mind. I'm listening to very heavy music when I'm going out for running, like for sports, and I discovered that many like this dubstepy people really add very different parts as bridges and stuff. So I tried to do that, and this is the guitar bridge. And Pushing Binaries is like like pushing boundaries, but binaries as a joke. And I like to push the synthwave genre a bit with this. So this is the only track with a guitar solo on the album, and so it's really kind of another part in the track where the guitar solo comes. So it's kind of an aha moment, like, oh, what's that? And I hope it works. I don't know. Maybe
it definitely works, my friend. And I mean, you mentioned influences from AC/DC, and I mean, you've self-taught yourself how to play a guitar, right?
Yeah, and later I studied chess guitar, so I studied the guitar.
Well, you're one hell of a guitarist, let me tell you. Like when you break it down in those tracks and you hear that guitar solo, I'm like, oh, and again, that's one of the reasons why I love synthwave or synth pop. You get all of these amazing sounds. You get that beautiful sax at times, and then other times you get that rocky guitar. It's not like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love modern day music, but something about synthwave is just magical on its own.
Yeah, true. It's kind of like a positive vibe. Often it's like this enjoying just music for what it is. I think it's very it doesn't try to be cool or something, but it's very enjoyable at the same time. Like,
well, that's the greatest thing. Sorry, go ahead.
No, like a saxophone. It's like, I think it would be hard to add saxophone to a modern pop track, but in synthwave it's okay. It's cool, and it's very special, I think, and people really like it.
I think that's what makes synthwave so, I mean, quote unquote, cool at the same time, because the true definition of cool is like, you're cool because you're not trying it, you're doing your own thing, and that's what makes you cool. That's what makes you unique. Everybody, if you're going around doing the same thing over and over and over again, you're not cool, you're not fresh, you're not unique, you're just following sheep, right?
True. That totally. It's like, sorry, but it's like, you don't try to be cool, or you don't give a shit, but you make just the things you enjoy, and that's very synthwave, I think.
Yeah, exactly that. It brings out that uniqueness in the best of ways, and it shows just what being yourself is all about. And that's what I mean. Again, I'm putting a lot of metaphors. I'm putting a lot of faith and emotion into what I think about synthwave, which is kind of borderline fanboyish.
Oh, nice.
But it's just incredible, and a while there, a couple of podcasts ago, I was talking about how when you listen to a synthwave track, it's kind of like opera in a sense. When you listen to an opera track, you kind of hear what's going on behind the scenes. You can hear the story that's being told, and when you listen to an instrumental like Pushing Binaries, for example, even though there might not be an actual story behind it, you can kind of make up your own story in your head about what's happening at this point in the track. And I think that's incredible. No other music does that but synthwave.
That's beautiful. That's cool. It's for me, it's kind of cool to hear what you were saying, because I'm doing music more analytical, because I don't think about stories I want to tell. I want to make some music. I have no story in my head. I have like kind of chords and harmonies and stuff. They come together nicely, and I do that. But it's very cool to hear people what people feel about them when they hear it. It's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, I bet you've been inspiring people all over the world, and I mean,
Ah,
artists like you know, with your fantastic music. Who, it doesn't matter who you collaborate or if it's a solo track. I know for a fact, I know it, and even like a fact is, you know, isn't a feeling in my gut, but I know it that with your music, you're inspiring new synthwave artists all over the planet, my friend.
you think?
Oh,
That
I
would
do
be
know.
awesome.
I feel it. You have to be. Anybody who doesn't, if there's a synthwave artist out there who is creating music or hasn't created music and they want to create music and they hear your music, they're gonna be like, yeah, I'm inspired by this dude named Power Nerd. So it's like
Thank you very much.
yeah, you're definitely connecting people together with your incredible music.
Thank you very much.
Now, before we dive into Darkest Voids, I always want to check in with my guests about how crazy the past year has been. And, you know, I wanted to mention the pandemic a little bit and how it affected you, how you got through it. And I mean, we're still kind of rocking it throughout the world, and there's still some
Yeah.
crazy places around the world. But how has 2020 affected you with the whole pandemic thing?
Who I have, I don't know if that's a popular opinion, but I think it went very good for me. I enjoyed the time off, like it's everything slowed a little bit down, and I enjoy. I'm going into the woods and searching for mushrooms and stuff like an old man, and I was very productive. So I kind of made the best out of it. So and I last year in I don't know, it was 2019 in December I stopped drinking. So this whole thing came together quite nicely because I couldn't go out anymore. And so I enjoyed my new life with not drinking and going out, into the woods or for some walks and making music. So it's kind of cool for me. And I'm not affected like with my work because I'm working in a shared flat with disabled people. So this work was going on like normal, maybe a little bit more stressy because of the COVID thing, but I'm I don't fear about my job. That's a good thing. I'm in a very good position, and so I'm kind of cool with it. It's getting a little bit long because we're still in lockdown in Austria, but I'm trying to make the best out of it. I'm enjoying nature, enjoying making music, and with PowerNerd it's going very well, like online.
Well, I'm glad to hear it was a positive experience for you because, I mean,
Mm,
there's never a wrong answer in this. And I mean,
yeah.
a lot of people have said, you know, that the world had to slow down. And
Mm,
unfortunately, it took a pandemic to slow
hmm.
the world down. But, you know,
Yeah,
everything is so fast. You know, everybody's
totally.
pumped up on energy drinks. There's one thing after another. A song comes out 1 week later. It's like you're still listening to that. You know,
Hmm.
it's just the world is going so fast. So be able to connect with nature again, be able to take walks, be able to take a
Mm,
break from, you know, society's view of life essentially, and to be able to just take a moment to recharge. And again, unfortunately, it did take a pandemic to get
yeah,
humanity to say, okay, we need to stop and think here. We need to smell the roses again, as they say.
yeah, totally. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and it's worth it all. Like I mean, a lot of people have, you know, a lot of negativity has come out of this out of this pandemic, but a lot of good has come out of it too. And there's a silver lining in everything. And I'm not
Mm,
knocking anything that's happened to, you know, so many people around the world. It's been tragic in so many places of the world, but even by, you know, even by yourself, you can find
mm,
positivity in any place. So I mean,
yeah.
it's even helped me learn some skills at home, and I've learned some things that I never thought I probably would learn if the pandemic never happened. So
Yeah.
it's not that I'm thankful that the pandemic happened, but but
Mm,
I also took skills out of it. Do you know what I mean?
totally. It's the same here. So I I started to enjoy things. I had like going out to nature. It's my main thing to do now, besides making music. And this happened because the pandemic. So I had to rethink what can I do, what do I enjoy, and so this happened, and it's cool for me. It's as you said, it's you you had to find new ways to enjoy. And I think this slowing down and going out into nature is a good thing. It's better than rushing and have no time and stuff and all this before the pandemic. So it's kind of, I think I will stick to it with nature, and so it's very cool.
And that's the most important thing, is just because we've learned these skills by being, indoors all the time because of the pandemic, don't lose those skills, anybody. And like, if you at home, to any listeners, if you've learned some healthy skills within this pandemic, keep them going, keep that self-care going, because that's going to pay off after the world starts kicking up again.
Yeah, I'm kind of afraid that it's going on like before the pandemic, as soon as it ends, so that it's all going as fast as it ever was. I hope people will learn a little bit slowing down in general. That would be nice, but I don't know how it will be in the future.
Yeah, to be fair, before the pandemic hit, it was almost like a computer that was overclocked. Society was overclocked.
Yeah, true. Yeah, very true. It's like, it's not healthy. I think it's not healthy for the whole world, I think, going this fast.
Yeah, but I mean, again, we've learned some skills, but getting back to your music and finishing up with your brand new EP, Darkest Voids, I read it was inspired by a novel entitled The Outlaw Ocean, which was released in 2019. Now, I'm not much of a reader, but I totally respect people who can sit down, enjoy a good book, and have the attention span for it, because, like if it turned into a TV series or a movie, and I've never been, I couldn't get into reading as a person. It's just, but even audiobooks, but I appreciate and respect that ability to be able to do all of that. And incredible stories are written out there that I haven't even, that I don't even know exist, so anybody who points something out to me, anybody who points something in my direction, I try to check out the best of my ability. Like, for example, Tyler Lyle from The Midnight, and I've mentioned this before. He mentioned Courting the Wild Twin, and it was an excellent kind of self-help book that you can find on iTunes. It's about 3 hours long. It's by Martin Shaw, and I found it incredible to listen to. Okay. But I need to know, like, what inspired you to create an EP behind that novel itself?
You mean the Outlaw Ocean thing? It's Ian Urbaner, who wrote it, contacted me and asked me if I want to do it. So there are many artists who are working with him, and he asked me to, and it was a very it is a very nice idea to merge like this stuff, like his interviews and the field recordings of the ocean with music. And so I tried to tell a story or make the music fitting to the stories he tells. So I hope, I think it came out very nicely. So I tried to create one long track, so you can listen from first track to last track in one, or you can listen to the 5 tracks. And I tried to create this certain mood of underwater or underwater kind of thing, which fits to the story.
That's incredible. What an honor it is to be contacted by that author to create music for his novel.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's very cool.
Now let's finish off our track previews with a song that you suggested to me from the EP. So here's a 45-second clip of Time Was Running Out by POWERNERD off the new EP, Darkest Voids. Please go check it out.
Time was running out, and the waves were getting worse. Then it slowly began.
Now, where can people find your latest EP, Darkest Void? Here I am telling people to go check it out, but I haven't even told them where to find it. It's a must for any synth collection.
I think on every streaming service, certainly on Spotify and Apple Music, I think. But I'm very much of a Spotify listener, I have to admit, so I know it's on Spotify. And I'm not sure if it's on Bandcamp already, but I guess it will be added in the future. So if you really want to listen to it now, it's on Spotify.
Sweet. People need to go check that out on Spotify. And I think it's on SoundCloud as well, is it not?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, SoundCloud's where all these podcasts take place for the most part, because I'm a noob at podcasting. Can you tell?
Yeah. There are so many streaming services and stuff today. It's insane, actually. It's like it's Spotify, it's SoundCloud. You can listen on YouTube, Apple, and many more, I guess. Bandcamp.
Yeah.
Kind of,
there's so much. There's so many social media outlets out there for music now. It's just it's unreal.
Totally. And I like to keep up on like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. It's so much to do and so much to choose from, you know. Very, very. Do you have so many possibilities on the one hand? On the other hand, it's a little bit stressy to keep up with all the stuff, you know.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, true.
Now, as the interview starts to come to a close with about 10 minutes left roughly, I've loved learning about my guests on a personal level outside of their music. And obviously,
Yes.
you know, music is a passion for them, but I'd love to hear what sort of hobbies, interests, favorite TV shows, movies, or even food that you love. Absolutely anything that comes to mind that brings you passion. Tell me all about it. Tell the audience all about anything that you love.
I am actually POWERNERD. The name is because I'm a nerd. I like to repair stuff. I like that's music related, but nonetheless, I'm buying synthesizers. They're slightly broken, and I'm very happy if I can repair them. But I also destroy them by accident. And I have a 3D printer, so I like to 3D print stuff. That's very nerdy. I like to, as I said, I'm going to hunt for mushrooms in the woods. That's a passion. It's a real passion. I like to go into the woods and find mushrooms.
I do love mushrooms.
Yeah, mushrooms are cool. They're between, did you know they're not plants and not animals? So something in between. Like.
That's really interesting. No, I didn't.
Yeah. There are no plants, so it's cool. Yeah, that's basically it. I'm a nerd. I think I'm a nerd. Yeah, real nerd, power nerd.
Even mentioning, you know, destroying a synth a synth device. It's kind of fitting, you know, not to knock the nail on the head, but destroy to create.
But I didn't create anything with it.
Not
I just
yet.
destroyed. I destroyed 300 euros. But yeah, it's kind of a learning process. You make mistakes, you destroy something.
Well, for anybody who loves equipment, what synthesizers do you use for your music?
Many. Roland JD800, the Roland JX8B, the Korg Z1, the Roland V-Synth, Behringer Poly D, Roland MKS30 and MKS50, Behringer TD3, Behringer Odyssey, Yamaha TG33. I think that's all. And the one I destroyed was a Korg DSS1. Yeah, and some other stuff. And my DAW, the music program, is Reason 11.
Nice. Now, for other things like, you know, favorite TV shows and movies, I mean, I'm kind of a nerd too. I mean, there's a lot of nerdy stuff that I love too. Like, I kind of flow throughout a lot of, like, it doesn't, well, I mean, there's all labels at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what you like. But I mean, what TV shows and movies that you just can't get enough of?
By far my favorite TV show is Breaking Bad. There's nothing which is so cool as Breaking Bad. I think it's the TV show for me. I actually, yeah, that's the best one. Also, like many others, but this comes to mind. If there was only one TV show left, I would choose Breaking Bad.
Nice. It's an incredible show. It's really really good.
Yeah, it's like perfect for me. It's kind of everything is so perfect. It's very rare. Like you have many shows that are very good, but this one for me is perfect. I don't know how to describe. I also like Simpsons, the old Simpsons stuff. It's very different.
Oh, yeah.
So many stuff. But yeah, Knight Rider. But I didn't watch it for a long time.
Now you mentioned going into the woods and getting mushrooms and stuff. And I mean I love like I mentioned, I love mushrooms, and I gotta ask this too because personally there's nothing better than getting some fresh mushrooms, frying them up in a pan, adding some garlic butter in there, and just eating.
Yes.
Honestly,
Now we're talking.
I know. What's that, sorry?
Now we're talking.
Yeah, now we're talking. Exactly, right? Exactly. And like I'm one of those people, and people look at me with the strangest looks, and it's like I could get a can of mushrooms, just eat it out of the can.
That's extreme.
Yeah, I love them. They're fantastic. So I mean, I have to ask, just for food's sakes, what do you like making mushrooms with? Because there's so many combinations, and I mean, the audience right now is like, we're listening to a synthwave podcast, and they're talking about mushrooms. But I have to ask, what food dishes do you make with mushrooms?
I like to dry them, like drying them in the dryer, and then I'm adding it to cream and mushrooms, like very simple, and noodles. That's a very simple recipe, and it's always very good with I don't know how you king boletes. Is this the English word for them, like Steinpilze?
Okay, yeah.
Like that's the best, and like risotto. You can make many stuff like soups, like potato soups with mushrooms. Is very good. Yeah, like this stuff you can do. You can put mushrooms on anything. Like
they have so much flavor, and I mean my best friend there, he hates mushrooms to the point where he got himself allergic to them, and I was like, you poor soul. It was adorable. When we were younger, we would have chili. And my parents would put mushrooms inside the chili, and he'd be at the supper table just picking mushrooms out, putting them on my plate.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting because like mushrooms is like you love it or you hate it. It's nothing in between, or it's like people don't like them or people love them. It's interesting. Like tomatoes, some people don't like tomatoes.
I love tomatoes.
Yeah.
But I'm not picky too much with my food. There's a few things I don't like, but mushrooms and tomatoes are definitely up there.
Which don't you like?
I'm not a fan of squash.
What is squash?
It's like almost like a pumpkin. Like I love pumpkin. It's in the pumpkin family. I love pumpkins, but I'm not a fan of squash.
Squash? Butternut. Is it butternuts?
Yeah, butternut squash. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. It's not okay. I like it. Like, have you fried it in the pan?
I haven't, but I must admit, my partner's mom, she makes butternut squash soup that I've never tried before.
Okay.
But until her, and she makes it, and now that's the only fan of butternut squash I'm a fan of. She makes this incredible soup. You add just a touch of brown sugar, and it just tastes amazing. So she got me onto butternut squash, but outside of that, no thank you. We're going to have to introduce LMP, the cooking show, at one of these times. Have POWERNERD come on and talk about, mushroom dishes and how to cook.
Fresh mushrooms from Paddy, like you cook them.
Exactly. See, we got it all panned out. The side it'll be LMP music, it'll be the wrestling side of things, and it'll be the cooking side of things with Chef Paddy. I love it.
Yeah, I can do the background music.
There you go. See, it's a show in the making. It's already coming together, and the audience right now is going, "Oh my gosh." All right. Well, and, as the interview comes to close, what goals do you have planned for the rest of 2021? I mean, right now it's February, but you've been releasing quite a lot over the past year.
Yeah.
Can audience see live streams? A lot. I know a lot of artists have been doing that. Are there going to be more music videos, more collaborations? I know you briefly mentioned Megawave Part 2.
Yeah. There's quite some stuff coming. It's like I have a new project with a friend. We're releasing an album in, I guess, summer or autumn. Then maybe with Dana some stuff, some POWERNERD tracks, some collabs, maybe an POWERNERD EP or album. I don't know. Yeah, that's it. I guess there is one live show planned, like one streaming thing and one real live gig. The last gig with my band in October, but who knows if that's gonna happen? It would be in Vienna. Yeah, that's basically it. So some releases and some shows.
Well, it certainly sounds promising and exciting. I mean, it's going to be the summer of POWERNERD, and with you and Dana releasing more music as well. I can't wait. I mean, when I think of music videos as well, there was one thing that I have this vibe and this story in my head every time I listen to The Ruins of Paradise with you and Dana.
Okay.
And I can just imagine her in this desert, this dystopian futuristic desert, walking around singing that song, making it a powerful music video. So I mean, if it's ever possible, a music video from that song, I think would just with Dana's skills, your skills, I think the music video would be incredible if it can ever happen. I'm not sure if it can, but I have this, like, every time I listen to it, I'm like, oh, there's so much potential here for a music video.
You seem to have very good visions with music. You're very how do you say, visionary or visual type?
A visionary, yeah. But I try. I'm not gonna admit that I'm a visionary, but I have a lot of I have a very vivid inspiration. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I have a very vivid imagination.
It's interesting. It's cool because when I listen to music, I get feelings, strong feelings, but no pictures. It's very
really interesting. That's I love that. I love that about music. See, it's incredible. It's incredible about music, how one person can listen to something, get feelings, other people can imagine things, other people can get both. Yeah. Like a lot of Dana's music just gives me all those feels. There's not many times with Dana where I go, oh, I can imagine this video, but all the feelings that I get from Dana are unimaginable.
Nice.
All right. Well, with that, we will wrap things up. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, Paddy. I had a wonderful time getting to know you.
Same here. Thank you.
Now, could you share your social media with everyone so people know where to find all of your material?
My material, go to Spotify. That's the cool thing to do in 2021. Go to Spotify, search for POWERNERD, and listen to my music. Thank you very much.
Sounds good. People, get over to Spotify and listen to POWERNERD. And if Spotify isn't your thing, you can find them on Bandcamp and SoundCloud as well.
Yeah,
true. Just for those oldies.
Yeah, I'm everywhere.
And as for our socials, you can find us on SoundCloud under Lotus Moon Productions, Facebook under Lotus Moon Productions, Instagram under Lotus M Productions. You can find us on Spotify now under LMP Music. We're a little tough to find right now because we have low viewership, but we'll get there. Yeah. And Twitter under Lotus Moon Prod, and you can search us on YouTube under Lotus Moon Productions. Well, this has been LMP Music. Please be safe. Please be kind to one another. And with that, we are signing off.